Breaking news, the Chicago Bears get their man in Ben Johnson. It is official. The Lions offensive coordinator is leaving Detroit to become the head coach of the Chicago Bears. My name is Harrison Graham. Welcome into Bears Now by Chat Sports. We have a ton of reaction, my initial thoughts. We're going to go live here in about 45 minutes. I'm filming this at home and then I'm driving to the studio. Just had to get my raw reaction out there. What an adrenaline rush. You know, you can never tell with these things, right? Only the top insiders, only the coaches, the teams themselves truly know what was going on. And, you know, there was reason to believe that maybe, just maybe, the Raiders had a shot with Tom Brady's presence and his ability to potentially pick a GM there. But I always thought throughout this process, is he really going to pick the Raiders in that situation over the Bears? The Bears are far from perfect. They have a lot of flaws with this organization. But maybe this is a turning of the guard. And maybe it's true that Ben Johnson thinks Caleb freaking Williams can be a superstar. Just like I do. Just like I know a lot of you guys do. And I think he looked at this situation logically and said, yeah, I'm going to listen to Tom Brady. I'm going to listen to other teams. But when it's all said and done, when you look at all of the factors, current roster, talented young quarterback, knows the division well, I think the Bears were the best opening possible that he could have gotten. And he took this job. And I'm fired up about it. You guys should be fired up about it. And you can put this on record. If 3 or 4 years down the line, this doesn't work out, sure, it's not my job to get it right. It's the Bears' job to get it right. But I am not going to sit here and say, they screwed that one up. They picked the most obvious candidate for the situation they need right now. Now, would Mike McCarthy or Todd Monken or one of these guys been a good hire? Absolutely. But this is worth the swing. Ben Johnson is a guy you take a swing on and you see if you can get him. He's got the experience. He's proven he can coach offense. He's a hell of a play caller. The biggest questions with him were obviously, how can he command a room and what kind of staff can he build? Well, there's some early notes on the staff that we're going to get to here in just a second. But man, Caleb Williams gets to work with Ben Johnson now. Ben Johnson took a Lions offense the last 3 years, made it the number 2 EPA offense for a 3-year run. Took Jared Goff to new heights that we didn't even think were possible. Sure, he was a good quarterback. The last 2.5 years, he's been a great quarterback. Yes, they have a lot of toys to play with in Detroit. Yes, the Bears have some holes to fill, especially on this offensive line. But I think he's going to get a little bit more out of a DJ Moore and a Rome Odunze than Shane Waldron did this year. I just do. And so now I'm fired up about this. They get their guy. Ben Johnson is the answer for the Chicago Bears. Time will tell if that ends up actually playing out. But I think on paper, this made the most sense. And I'm fired up about it. What is your one-word reaction to the Chicago Bears landing Ben Johnson? I want to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. Your one-word reaction to the Bears landing Ben Johnson. Note coming in from Adam Schefter. He says that Ben Johnson is already working on assembling a star staff, and that includes Dennis Allen as the leading candidate to be the defensive coordinator for this team. I tweeted this out, and excuse my language for any children watching, sign me the fuck up. You get Dennis Allen to run this defense. He, along with Robert Saleh and Lou Anarumo, I wanted one of those 3 guys, especially with Saleh and Allen. Why? Because they've sat in that head coaching chair, and in Allen's case, he's not getting a third crack to be a head coach. So assuming it works, and based on his history as a defensive coordinator, you could have him in place for a very, very long time. He's a 4-3 scheme guy, so you don't have to switch your defensive fronts. He's very creative with his back seven and how he disguises coverages. Obviously, the Bears need to get a little better up front, but I think he's got a lot of secondary pieces to work with here. If you get Dennis Allen, I mean, that is a hell of a combination. Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen, let's freaking go, baby. That is something I can get behind very, very quickly. We'll see what the rest of the staff looks like as more information comes in. And by the time we're live here in a little bit, we'll obviously have notes on that as well. But man, my heart is pumping. I'm fired up. I mean, this is it, man. This is it. And again, there's no guarantee it'll work out. Time will tell. But this is not a Matt Nagy situation on paper. I keep hearing that from, the half glass empty people. Ben Johnson built and designed his own offense and has been running it for 3 years. Matt Nagy ran Andy Reid's offense for 3 or 4 games. It is not apples to apples. It's not even apples to oranges. It's apples to like chocolate bars. Like they're not even cousins in terms of the situation. And that's not to drag Matt Nagy and to prop up Ben Johnson. It's just the reality of the situation. He is way more experienced running plays, calling his own offense than Matt Nagy ever was. That's just truth. So more thoughts coming up here in just a second, but do want to tell you guys first about our sponsor, Game Time. You want to go watch Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears next season? I bet you do. And once those tickets become available, you should get them with our friends over at Game Time. You want to go to the big game here in a few weeks? You want to go to a conference championship? How about the Bulls, the Blackhawks? Want to go watch them play in person? Go get your tickets with Game Time right now. Sign up, download the app, use promo code ChatSports to get $20 off your first purchase only. That's code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase only. Get started today. Views from the seats, super deals, curated deals. Also, event loss protection. If an event gets canceled for any reason, you're going to be covered there as well. And you can get 110% money back guaranteed if you find a better price in the same section on a different ticketing app. Just got to prove that to Game Time. Get started with Game Time today. Code ChatSports, $20 off, first purchase only. Terms do apply. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Some other thoughts here. This hire was all about Caleb Williams. You took this guy number 1 overall. It was a mistake to keep Matt Eberflus last year. There's no doubt about it. But this is a pretty good recovery a year later by Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren, whoever came to this decision. Warren maintained Poles would make the final call. So, we'll see if details emerge on that. This is about as good of a recovery on paper as you could have asked. Offensive guy that calls the plays, that if it hits, you've got him set up with your quarterback for the next decade plus. What did Caleb Williams say on the St. Brown Brothers podcast? He said, look, I'll be honest, selfishly, I want an offensive guy that I can grow with for the next 15 to 17 years. That's what he wanted. And look, you don't make the hire because of what some player says on a podcast, but it doesn't take a genius to say that is the best path to long-term success in this league. Pairing up a quarterback with an offensive coach that calls the plays. Obviously, Mahomes and Andy Reid's an extreme example. Sean McVay, initially with Goff, now with Matthew Stafford. Shanahan, it doesn't even seem like it matters who the quarterbacks are. They're competitive over there. Like, that's the best avenue. It's not the only avenue, but I do think if you want this to work for 10 plus years, this is the way. Now, is Ben Johnson going to be the next Shanahan McVay? Time will tell. He's going to sit in that head coaching chair and at his desk, and he's going to have new responsibilities that he didn't have before. But I got to think that being under Dan Campbell for 3 years, or at more than 3 years, actually, 3 years as a play caller, a few more years in Detroit, or another year in Detroit, and also a couple years in Miami, I would think he learned a thing or two about just natural leadership, commanding a room. Now, is he going to be the crazy rah-rah guy biting kneecaps off that Dan Campbell is? No, but he doesn't need to be. He just needs to demand respect and set a high standard. That's something else Caleb said. Hey, I want a coach who challenges us, sets a standard, doesn't lower that standard. If Ben Johnson can do those things, and obviously if he can jumpstart this offense and get the most out of DJ Moore and get Cole Kmet back going into this offense, I look at what Detroit's done with Sam Laporta. I would think that Cole Kmet can do some of those things. I think Laporta is a little more gifted as a receiving tight end, but I think Cole Kmet's pretty excited about this hire right now. I think this has a chance to be really good. This has a chance to be really good. Obviously, what's next? Got to fill out the coaching staff. That's number one. And then from there, Ben Johnson, who I hope gets some say in roster control, especially offensively, works hand in hand with Ryan Poles and his staff, Ian Cunningham, whoever, identifies free agents and draft prospects. Hey, this guy can help us. That guy can help us. Let's build in the trenches with these players. Like that's the next step. Fill out the staff first, and then identify which type of players fit what Ben Johnson and, if Dennis Allen is the defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen want to do on each of their sides of the ball. And that's why, too, if you get Dennis Allen, I really like that move because look, he failed as a head coach. We know that. But he could be the head coach of the defense. Hey, Dennis, you've got that side of the ball. I'm going to run the team in the offense, especially early on in Ben Johnson's career as he transitions into being a head coach for the first time. I mean, to me, that sounds really, really nice, which is why I mentioned him as someone when I talked about defensive coordinator targets under Ben Johnson. I wanted a guy who had a lot of experience and success as a DC, but ideally someone who had been a head coach before, who had sat in that seat, who could spread some wisdom to Ben Johnson and could handle a lot of responsibilities, take some things off his plate. That is something that Dennis Allen will be able to do. So with all that being said, grade the hire of Ben Johnson to the Chicago Bears right freaking now. Give us your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'm signing off. Hit the subscribe button. I'll be live within an hour, so stay tuned and bear the fuck down.